Welcome to the Shipsgonnahappen podcast show. It's Saturday, November 6th, 2021. My name is Tony B. Alongside me as usual is David B. and Timmy D. Our views are purely news-driven and do not express the views of any transportation provider or any business entity that uses any transportation provider. It's just three guys with 70 years of experience discussing transportation topics and news that affect the industry that brings us the products we order straight to our docks or doors. We do it for the transportainment side of things, Timmy D.
Transportainment.
That's right, transportainment. You can catch us on our home base, Shipsgonnahappen.com, Twitter, Rumble, Facebook.
It could be plural.
Yeah, it could be plural. iTunes and SoundCloud.com. Today's topics. Driver shortage reaching record levels with David B. Topic 2, costs continue to rise, with a little bit of a port update from me, Tony B. But first, we have a special interview with Dan Stanke, sales manager at First Call Logistics. David B., good morning. How are you doing, brother?
Good morning, producer Tony and Timmy D. How are both of you guys doing this morning? Good to see the both of you on this crisp November, first Saturday in November.
Ooh, cold this morning.
Beautiful Saturday morning. Today's show brought to you by The Great Divide, 743 East New York Street, downtown Indianapolis. Great place to go to get some food, have some good cocktails, chat it up with the locals, get some live music on a Friday night. Good spot to go. The Great Divide, downtown Indianapolis. Timmy D, you are on your own this weekend. Take care of the three boys. How's that going to go?
It's going. It's going. Hey, everybody's breathing. Everybody's breathing. They made it home from school yesterday. Okay. We're doing well. We're doing very well. Hey, I will tell you, it is cold. We actually, her mother had come over a couple nights ago. The Colts played the Jets and whooped that ass. If I'm allowed to say that, but which should happen. But she had me turn on the fireplace, and she's like, I don't know. We haven't used it since we've been here. So turn on the fireplace. It was kind of nice. So I don't think I'm going to turn that on tonight, but it may need it. It's, like 30 degrees outside? Like, my gosh.
Be 60.
And Tony B got these new windows up in here. You can see his lawn just grow.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Quarter inch at a time out here.
Thank you.
You still watering this thing?
No. Just did the aeration and seeded and did all that.
Did you blow out the lines? Do you do that yourself?
I got to pull. I still got to pull them out. Yeah, I still got to do that.
All right.
Yeah, probably do that this weekend. I got a lot of. David and I were talking about. I got a lot of housework items to do.
Yeah, honey,
garage work.
Hey, and good to hear Anna's in good health.
Yep,
so that's
feeling
good
better.
to hear. That was a little scary. I think we had to take a week off, folks. Ann wasn't doing so well, and now she's doing well, and all's good, right?
I'm glad you brought. Thank you, and special thanks to Jared Vineyard, who was on the show discussing ports that week too. It was a pretty good show, I thought.
And one real quick, maybe just a little small shout out to our condolences go out to Ed Perry's family.
Oh yeah,
Ed Perry of Shipsgonnahappen Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Lost his wife earlier this week, and our condolences go out to Ed Perry and his family at a young age of 53.
Yeah.
Wow.
Beautiful woman.
Wow. There's a Saturday morning for you.
So Dave Stanke, sales manager. Dan Stanke, sales manager at First Call.
You're looking at the paper. You're reading it.
I know. Dave. Dan. We have a Dave here.
You call him D Stank.
We have a
Stank
Dave.
if you want to make it easy.
Mr. Stanke, sales manager, First Call Logistics. Are you with us?
I am. Mr. Stanke is my dad. I can't go by that.
There you go.
I'm still too young.
Loser in the walk-off. Can we go with that?
Don't maybe bring up the trophy.
Yeah.
That's right. I couldn't beat Tim, but I'll take my participation badge.
There we go.
Hold on. Are you the one that had the sweet one? Was it the one with the brown sugar?
I did. I had a little brown sugar.
Hey, a little brown sugar.
Good. They were all good.
Mm-hmm. We're good. They were very good. So, Dan, how are you this morning?
Very good. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
So, you also own your own little trucking company too, don't you?
Yes.
And so, how many tractors do you have with that?
One.
Oh, okay. And
that's all you need. One makes money.
Yeah, and is
one tractor.
It keeps you pretty
trailer.
busy then, or?
Yeah, it is. Definitely. Just like a lot of companies, the driver is definitely the hardest part. So right now, just kind of on standby till I fill a seat in that truck. But yeah, definitely, I think that's just echoes the whole thing in the industry. My original driver was a friend of mine, his dad. A long time he passed away, and I just haven't wanted to fill the seat yet. Kind of getting through that. But
what are you waiting on, Dan? You could fill that seat.
I'd have to get my CDL there first. So
yeah,
I thought about it. Trust me.
So how are things at First Call Logistics? Are you guys seeing, the industry with the constraints, how tight things are, and is it difficult to find drivers and get loads booked and the costs and all that? Just like everyone else, I think we're feeling the same kind of things, the same pressures in the industry for sure. We at least have, being a brokerage firm, we're at least, very flexible. And that's probably our biggest, benefit that we can kind of offer right now is that, when there is, fall offs or things like that, we have a lot of flexibility with a very big network that we can kind of try to adapt the best we can. But yeah, prices are high. This past week was, there was the Indian holiday out west, the Festival of Lights. A lot of people don't realize what kind of impact that really affects the trucking market just as much as Thanksgiving or Christmas or any other holiday. That's another one that you might not see in your calendar that, does that, change rates? Was that just a one-day holiday, or was that a week-long event, or how long did that last?
It's a week-long.
Yeah, it's a week-long, I believe,
kind of event. Yeah. I mean, especially in California market is where you really see a lot of impacts on some of that stuff where you're cross country. We do a lot of produce shipments too. So that's where we see an effect in some of that. So, but again, it's having those conversations with people and letting them know, say, hey, we're not making this stuff up. This is going on and it's affecting the market.
Speaking of produce, I read an article today. Have you guys seen avocados? Mm-hmm. I know. So back to your guac off, Dan.
Tim's always got to rub it in.
I know, right?
Here's the plate again. Here's the plate.
Australia, the farmers over there, I guess, avocado is huge in Australia, apparently.
I didn't know that
either.
I thought it came from Mexico.
The farmers over there are pissed off. So the people that produce avocados is up 60% now. And so the price of avocados is basically in the dirt.
Oh, really?
Compared to what it was. So they're getting upset that each avocado, they used to ring in about 30 cents. Now they're ringing in about 3 cents.
No kidding.
That crazy on the overproducing of the avocado. So it just tells me we need more guac offs. That's what I'm saying. That's all. I heard produce and I thought
we could do an ugly sweater competition and a guac off on the same day next month. Just saying.
I won't even wear anything. That'll be the ugliest sweater you've ever seen.
Yeah. Hey, Dan.
Yes.
So how long have you been in the industry and what got you into doing this?
Well, it's been, I've been in the industry now for over 6 years. Before that, I went to college in Wisconsin, and I guess you can kind of go back. I worked nights, loading and unloading trucks for a trucking company in Hudson, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And I did that at night in college, and I kind of thought that's where my, just earn some extra money, pay rent and have some beer money in my pocket. So that was, definitely a good job to have in college. And then I was in law enforcement for 5 years once I finished school. I did that. I had a buddy that then went to work in commercial insurance after his law enforcement career. I was like, hey, that's kind of sounds sort of interesting. And he was doing it on the commercial trucking side. So then I talked to a trucking company headquartered in Wisconsin and thought I would kind of get into some safety and compliance. And then they actually pushed me into logistics and kind of been there ever since. And like I said, for the last 6 years, that's what I've been doing. Kind of progressed through different, dispatching, brokerage, planning, account management, sales, just kind of progressed through a few.
What did you major in? Just curiosity. What did you major in? And then all of a sudden you're in trucking. This is always fascinating to me.
Sounds good.
Sociology.
Sociology,
right?
Oh, so
I only had to take one college math class. So it was one of those where I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty easy. And then I realized, I come into trucking today, and now all I do is look at spreadsheets and numbers all day long.
That's amazing.
Where did you go to college at?
Wisconsin River Falls.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Wow. Minnesota?
So are you a Wisconsin fan or a Minnesota fan?
Well, I grew up in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, my whole life. So I went to elementary school, high school, all in Minnesota. And then I went to college in Wisconsin, right on the border there, and I haven't lived in Minnesota ever since. So,
but are you in Indianapolis now?
Yes, I live in Indianapolis.
What the hell brought you to Indianapolis?
Well, that original trucking company that I worked with in Wisconsin, they have terminals all over the country.
Are you at liberty to announce them? Or
no, let's not do that. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you can say
go ahead, Stanke.
Yeah. Tell him his life story.
At Martin Transport.
Huge company.
Yep. So they taught me a lot of stuff. Great, fantastic company, great people. So they really kind of taught me a lot of what I kind of got to get my foot in the industry, and it was great. And they had an office here in Zionsville. And so I moved from our corporate office in Wisconsin to here, and I always thought it was just going to be kind of a temporary thing, but dug in some roots, and I've been here ever since.
You definitely probably don't miss the winters up in Minnesota, do you?
They're a lot more tolerable here. I kind of miss the ice fishing and some of that stuff, but I'll be going. Oh, damn! You got to get out of the ice fishing sometime.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my fat ass out on a piece of ice. Yeah, that's what, and cut a hole in it. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Could you see my fat ass walking on a lake? Yeah, right.
I'll be going back up for deer hunting season. Will come up here. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. It's the 9-day, and that's the best time of the year. So I'll be going back up for that.
Nice.
You still have family up there?
I do. All my family is still up there. Yeah.
Wow. So you did pretty good at the Martin Transportation, and then you obviously had some savviness with the money aspect, and you bought your own truck and started your own logistics company, and been doing that since then, right?
I just did that last year.
Wow.
Yep, last year.
Congratulations.
I saw the market was kind of favorable for a lot of smalling operation. I wanted to give it a shot. So I gave it a whirl and convinced my wife I was going to give it a shot on the side, and it was a nice little venture. I learn a lot too, to kind of do it yourself really from the ground up. I mean, all the little aspects that sometimes you don't think about, that from IFTA stickers to filing that quarterly and everything that goes along with it, to decals and VINs on your truck and trailer, and making sure your reefer unit's working correctly and your driver's registered with the clearinghouse. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. So it's definitely, it was a great way to learn even more than the stuff that I kind of already knew.
One question, like Tim has brought up on a couple shows, is I wanted to ask you, is what's the insurance cost like? Because Tim's done some research on that. And
so
seems to be
got that psychology degree. What's the insurance? And you said you had a friend that had kind of done the insurance on the commercial side. Yeah, that's great. What's that look like as a company?
It is very expensive, and
I like how you monetize that very well. It's very expensive.
It's very expensive, and you have to watch. Basically, there's a little more nuances than you might think. Obviously, if you're a new venture, right, you're going to be paying an upcharge for that. Then, if you're based in, say, Indiana, right, is where I registered through, but my driver lived in Tennessee. Well, then you're kind of a little more selective on, your driver's in Tennessee, but your company's in Indiana. It's just another nuance, because obviously your insurance want to know all your, driver, driver history, everything like that.
All up in the business. Up in it.
They want to know everything because they're the ones that are insuring it. So it's when you're a new venture, you're limited. You're limited to some of the bigger insurance companies. They're the only ones that are really going to take the risk.
Are you self-insured at all? Are you self-insured at all? Is there any portion of that that's self-insured, or how does that work?
No. I'm
so you got a $500 deductible like I got on my truck.
I have a $2,500 deductible.
So you got $2,500 deductible, and then they cover everything from there.
So how much different insurance do you have to have? Do you have to have like vehicle, then personal, and all that for the driver, or is it just all lobbied into one insurance plan?
It's all into one, but obviously you can add to the policy as much as you really want. I mean, you want to have those basics of, general liability, cargo insurance.
Oh yeah.
Your main kind of what you're all going to need for what you really want to do. Like if you're going to have a reefer, you're going to want reefer breakdown insurance. So many, brokerages and companies are, really forcing that you have to have that, which is obviously protects them and yourself. So you want to have that. Obviously, it depends what kind of cargo insurance you want. If you want to carry, 250,000 or, or more, usually 250s plenty. You don't want to go too much over that. I was basically, just kind of have a reefer unit where I'm hauling, frozen food and some produce and stuff like that. So I usually, kind of stick to some of that. If you want to, maybe carry a little less insurance, if you're doing like a dry van or something like that, you could probably do that. But
so Dan, do these costs keep you from wanting to grow your business, or are you planning on growing your business? Does any of this weigh in on what your plans are for the future?
I'd say the biggest cost, like right now, obviously, is more equipment. Equipment cost is really high right now. Used truck prices, new truck prices, trailer prices, they're insane. I bought a used Freightliner last year for $65,000, and that same exact truck is going for 80s, 90s. And still used equipment. So that's definitely, if you can find it. That's another thing. I bought my truck up in Michigan.
I was just going to say, if you could find it, man.
So that's where I had to go to get the truck. So it's definitely, equipment's a struggle. That's probably the biggest thing. And then it's time consuming when you're the one man show kind of, you're doing all the load booking, all the tracking, all your, accounts payable, receivables, stuff like that.
Why the reefer business? What got you to the reefer side of a tractor trailer versus just a standard dry van or a flatbed?
Basically, that's probably where most of my knowledge came from. Was working in the reefer side even now I still do. So I mean, I'm very reefer heavy just in terms of what my full knowledge is. So that's why I went with a reefer unit. Obviously a lot of drivers too, sometimes they don't want to run with a reefer. I had to sweet talk my guy to try to stick with the reefer side. So there is a little nuances there where, you got to check it. You got to make sure your reefer's full and running and babysit a little bit more. Which is why some drivers are a little particular where they don't want to necessarily. And your deliveries,
right? Your deliveries are going into grocery warehouses and things like that can handle that need the reefer side. So your delay of your driver, that's why obviously you're charging a premium to have that equipment. It's not a standard equipment, and I guess at what point do you value, or what value do you put on your reefer would be my question.
There is definitely the pay is better. So are
your margins better though? I mean, obviously you're getting more money for it, but are your margins better?
Yes, they are. They're probably, I would say another, 10% out of what a dry van margin would be, at a minimum. Sometimes if you're in the right spot at the right time, and you're picking up some produce that's coming, from South Texas, I'd go to Laredo, Texas a lot, and I'd haul tomatoes back up to Indy, and where I was doing that route a lot. And you catch that at the right time, you're going to get a nice chunk of change compared to if you were hauling dry van.
Are you hauling avocados?
that was mostly tomatoes is what I was doing then.
Well, you need tomatoes for your avocados, just so you know.
Yeah, you need
to make a good guacamole. You got to have good tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
I like those beef steaks.
Good. So
those are the big juicy ones.
So going to your other job or whatever, are you guys having any staffing issues? Or I mean, you guys are fully staffed and the business is growing and things are going well?
Yes, yeah, things are going well. It's like I said, being on the brokerage side is definitely makes us a lot more adaptable in the market. It kind of really gives us some flexibility, especially too when we do reefer, we do dry-van, we do flatbed. We can kind of really tailor to whatever the market's kind of dictating at the certain time. Are you having
issues with booking loads and finding drivers at all?
At times, a lot of it can be rate driven. If the money's not there in the load, you're going to struggle to sell it and get that carrier to do it. I think the big thing is like the industry is, sometimes a broker can be considered like a black sheep. But 50% of the trucks out on the road right now are owner operators or trucking companies with less than 5 trucks. So there's a huge portion of the market there that a broker usually has to have a connection with in order to lock in some of those trucks. And that's what we try to do, is use some of our network and our connections that we can build relationships with on the carrier side. And be that agent for those smaller companies.
Do you see, or have you given any thought to those companies, like they're becoming more of the small companies with this vaccine mandate that's getting rolled out?
I do wonder what that's going to do. I think for the most part, I'm not going to see too much of an issue of it, just because I don't know how they're really going to enforce that. To be honest, I think that's going to be next to impossible to try to get so many of these companies, smaller companies, mom and pop shop type thing, companies that are, how are you going to regulate? And maybe they will figure out a way. I don't know. But I don't know if that'll have the impact that we kind of fear it would. But I guess it's one of those things where you just kind of wait and see. The only thing constant in trucking is change. And
ship's gonna happen. Listen, ship's gonna happen. Yeah. Dan Stanke from First Call Logistics is on the hook here.
Good to have you on.
How are you gonna adapt? And that's definitely, I think, the thing that everyone has to figure out is how do you adapt to what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on to the Ship's Gonna Happen show this morning, Dan. One of the reasons I bring that up is I'll kind of jump into my story about, like there's 80,000 truck drivers shortage.
Hang on, let's get into it. Ready? We're going to get into topic 1?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Let's get into topic 1. Danny, you're staying on board, right?
Dan's going to stay on board and give us some knowledge here.
Sure.
We'll go to him too. All right, here we go. David's with topic number 1. Wait, give me 1 second there.
Tony B.
Boom, boom, boom.
So I read a story earlier this week about the driver shortage is at its all-time high of 80,000 drivers are what they need right now in the industry. And this is the highest number since 2005 when they started monitoring these numbers. It was 61,000 in 2018, and now it's 80,000 right now. And they're looking like over the next decade, it could reach to about 160,000 drivers that they're going to be short in the industry. And they attribute that a lot to kind of the way of the job. It's not a glamorous job, and it's a very difficult job, and it's kind of an underappreciated job. And it's, depending on where you're at in the industry, it doesn't really pay that well also. So it's kind of interesting to read that, this big of a shortage that's going on right now. So that was kind of why I was asking you your question, Dan, about, are you seeing difficult to get book loads and how much of the driver shortage is impacting your business? Do you see that as a big impact, Dan? I'm sorry.
It is definitely an impact, but I mean, I have a few good friends that are recruiters at some big companies, and this isn't anything I think that's too new. This has been happening pretty steadily for the last, 5+ years that we've seen some of this. And I mean, how many years ago I think people were offering, drivers, below 50 cents a mile. Now you think about it, I don't think there's any company out there that's probably below 50 cents a mile. So I think the industry is trying to adapt on some of that. But like you said, it's not necessarily the most glamorous occupation right now. The driver out on the road has changed from what it was 20 years ago. You're seeing more women professional truck drivers. Minority truck drivers are increasing substantially too. So the face of the truck driver in America is definitely changing. And I think companies adapting to that change. So many recruiters now are bilingual, trying to, capture another portion of the market to be able to recruit and give a better advantage. So I think that's definitely just another aspect to it, and how the whole driver market is. You're also seeing, full truckloads. You're seeing 26 footers out there. I can't believe how many more 26 footers I see out on the road than I did even just 2 years ago.
Interesting on the 26.
Have you thought about investing in a 26 footer or a couple of them? Or
I have. For one, I think why you're seeing it is because the CDL restrictions are a lot different, right? So instead of needing your Class A, you need a Class B or Class C, which is a little easier to obtain. There is a misconception there that some people think, if you drive a 26 footer, you don't need a CDL. Well, if you're still driving commercially, you're going to need a CDL. Yeah,
you're still regulated.
Yeah, you're still regulated. It's not like you can get a 26-foot U-Haul if you want to move your house. Move some furniture around. You can, but you're not moving commercially. So that's kind of the thing.
So, my house took at least 68 feet.
So you're making a couple of trips on that.
I guess that's what happens.
Tim did it with a rail trailer.
So Dan, what are your thoughts about maybe making like high schools having like this as kind of like a part of the core, where there's a driving class and like trying to get your CDL, like learning that
on an elective instead of a technology class, having a trade show, or not trade show, but a trade aspect.
Skill.
I think something like that would probably be beneficial, even just a general kind of logistics course in some high schools, where you could kind of learn, different aspects of it, from warehousing to, actual, mechanical, almost like a shop, some sort. Definitely, there's a million different things you could probably cover in class.
And to be honest, realistically, everything you do in life is logistically done, right?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, everybody's planning in their day, and everything they go about is logistics. How am I going to get the kids to soccer or football or basketball, right? So when or where or how are we going to pick up dinner, or are we going to make dinner? Like, it's all logistics at the end of the day, right? I think the curriculum should be, you should have a tax class. How to file your taxes.
Yeah, money.
I mean, as a junior or senior in high school, you should be doing that.
Yes.
And you should also, in a logistics class in general, of how do the goods get to your door. When you hit yes, buy now on Amazon, how does that happen? Yeah. All right. Just because you hit yes, buy now, and the credit card goes through, right? It's all fake money. It's all no real tangible item out there, and these kids are just like, okay, I'll just order it now. Or was it Robux? Was that sound right? Robux is a Nintendo game or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Anyways, those kids just think, I'm gonna buy a new outfit today, or they call them skins. I'm gonna buy a new skin to put on somebody, right? Well, how does that happen? What is the logistics behind that? Who did that, right? So I think these kids are just able to just order now and not think twice about what goes in the background to get that to you, and how do you get it next day. And without Dan's company, right? Is it First Call Logistics, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So First Call Logistics out there. First Call Logistics has to have the first call to get that process moving for us to have anything. And I think we're missing that. I think the kids today are missing that. Algebra 2.0 is one item, but at the end of the day, what it comes down to, what is tangible, and that is, how does that happen? So maybe Algebra 2.0 is not needed when a simple logistics and a tax course, a real life class. Yeah. a real life class for these kids may attract better or more interest into the industry.
Yeah, great point.
And that's why Ship's going to happen.
Absolutely.
That's right. I do think one thing that's kind of interesting to tie along with this would be, if we talk about some of this new legislation, is how they're, part of this infrastructure bill is they're talking about changing the age of a CDL driver and possibly lowering it down to 18.
Because right now it's at 21, correct?
Yes, it is at 21 other than intrastate.
Yeah, you can leave the state or stay in state right at 18.
Stay in state, you can be 18. Now,
would you insure someone like that, though? Would you insure someone, Dan, at 18 years old?
Kind of what I'm saying is, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 18, I was probably not responsible enough to be driving an 80,000-pound truck.
But
I'm not responsible now.
But if you get those that are dedicated to it, right, and gone through the high school program, and I think by the time they got out at 18, based on some of those studies, they said they would have started at 16. Maybe they would be a little, I don't know, because even when I was in auto mechanics, bringing my car in, doing my own oil changes in high school, it was pretty tempting to go do a burnout in the parking lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Dan, would you hire an 18-year-old? If you had a 25-year-old candidate to run your reefer, or you had an 18-year-old to run your reefer, and all is legal, would you hire that 18-year-old?
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
And I don't think my insurance would insure me.
Right.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's a lot of times I think you see on some applications, like some are looking for 25-year-old. As a minimum for hiring some company driver positions.
Well, they told me my insurance would go down at 25. I don't think that was the case. Just put it out there. Yep.
Insurance is still one of the big hurdles, is whether your insurance provider would actually hire or actually, insure you with an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old driver. I don't know.
So does the government pick that up? Do you have government insurance at that point? Is that what you're saying? The Fed needs to insure that 18-year-old? Would that help?
I don't know. I don't know if they could even have any sort of authority on some of that.
Right.
Unless they'd be fronting some of the bill. And as a taxpayer standpoint, I wouldn't want necessarily that either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to.
Or you almost want them to go through like a 2-year apprenticeship. Like you were in high school and you did this, and 18 you graduate,
like a welder or a auto mechanic would.
Sure, yeah, just have some sort of an.
But then Dan's company would have to foot the bill to ride along with somebody. And does Dan's company, does First Call Logistics, do they say, okay, that's fine, I'll run 2 men in the same cab and pay them the exact same pay? There's a lot that goes into it, Dan, is what we're trying to talk about here. And what's the right decision, or how do you attract new drivers, I guess, would be the industry's hurting, right? We just, your article said we're 80,000 short. Mm-hmm. How do we fix that? Yeah. And we're all sitting around with our knowledge in the industry, you with your knowledge and our knowledge together, and we're all sitting here going, I don't know if I would insure that. I don't know if I'd pay for that.
But Dan, in your opinion, is there a shortage? Because is there a shortage? I mean, I'm reading articles too that say there actually isn't a shortage, where it's the supply chain that's kind of not the driver's end of it, but the supplier's end of it. Where
I think it depends really on how you really kind of look at it, in terms of there's definitely more truckload shipments than there were 50 years ago.
Hey, you said that 5 years ago. Truckload itself has gone up tremendously. I think a lot of that is driven by the LTL market pushing a lot of bigger shipments out of it too, though.
So if we're seeing more shipments and more things are getting delivered, is there really a driver shortage? I mean, we say yes, that there is, but isn't that just based on how the consumer, we've all been buying more things? We've all just been growing as a population, and cities are developing, and suburbs and stuff like that is all consumer driven. There's just more shipments out there than there were in the past.
Maybe it's more of a need than a shortage.
I would think so. I think the shortage and the need is definitely relating to each other. Mm-hmm. And I think it's all going to correct itself. I mean, if you try to really look at the big picture of it, I think that's what you're seeing. I don't know. I think it's going to be years down. I think I'd say 5+ years, you're really going to see this.
I feel like the market's trying to correct itself by trying to price things out. I feel like the market is dictating, and not to, I guess on the same topic, I know this wasn't, I don't have a topic because we got Dan, and so, but you see companies taking rate increases at the end of this year. When was the last time you saw at the end of the year someone taking a rate increase? So for the market itself to take a rate increase and is driving that, we've kind of talked about that. Why has the companies not taken it in the summertime? They're starting to take it early, right? Typically, your general rate increase comes in the first quarter. Right, in January, February, by the beginning of March, you're going to get a general rate increase. Now they're all starting to come out in November and December. Everyone's coming out with general rate increases.
It seems when the economy's strong or weak, that's when they fluctuate it, because there's been some in the fall, and then bam, right in the spring, there's been carriers do one in the fall and then do them in the spring.
Right, which is what I think the market, like Dan's stating, is not necessarily a driver shortage. It's a consumer need, and the market sees that. So you take one now, and guess what happens in March? You take another one.
Probably will be.
There's no doubt in my mind. You got to.
Well, based on the cost of everything, right? Like Dan's saying, we can't get trucks, can't get hard to get people. But that's a good question, though, David, because if you added up if you go through all the articles of driver shortage, those numbers don't add up. Right. So if you'd be up to like, we need 3 billion drivers. If you went back since I started in this industry 21 years ago and added up all the driver shortages, articles and needs, and, I guess the Trucking Association is probably the best dictator of what's the real number, I guess. But I don't know. It's a good question, though. Like what I don't know, because it like Dan's saying, I think there's driving forces. You got the automation coming, right? And that probably can't come quick enough. That puts pressure on the need for a driver, right? Mm-hmm. So, but then you've got, like we looked at the ports, when they go to the automation, you got workers not using the automation, right? So they're not going to go to work if you make them use it. So, man, I don't know. It's but like you say, though, it's still moving. It's still.
Well, let's get into the ports right now. Okay, hold on. David B's got something.
No, let's topic 2 is what I was holding up.
Well, go ahead.
We're ready to get into topic 2.
Dan, hang out for a second. Hold on.
All right.
All right. Tony B here with the cost continues to rise. And we've talked about this just this past segment, obviously, and all throughout our shows. We've talked about it. Essentially, I was going to give a quick update on the ports from the MX SoCal Marine Exchange. As of right now, there's 153 total ships in port at LA and Long Beach, 94 at anchor, and 59 at berthing. Of the 153, 100 are container ships, including 70 at anchor, 30 at berth, 45 vessels loitering, 38 container ships, 3 tankers, 3 bulk, 1 general cargo. It doesn't seem to be getting any better, as we were talking about with Jared, right? It's continuing. So costs continue to rise. We are at seasonal peak for shipping, and economists don't think we're going to be out of this logistics supply chain issue until mid-2022. Here's a quick breakdown of cost in sectors of our economy. My sources were Fox News, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, MX SoCal, Business Journal, and MSNBC.
Doing that research, putting that homework.
Hitting them all.
Here we go. Gas prices are up 42%.
You're telling me.
Damn.
That damn truck of mine, I'm getting ready to sell this son of a bitch.
$3.45 driving over here is what gas was this morning.
That is high, right?
That diesel.
That's low. Go out to California, it's $6.
$4.10 probably.
Yeah, Chicago area is probably 5-6 too, I bet. But so it's gone up. Food average cost 4.6%.
It's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than that.
On average, they average
beef is 18.7. Right. I saw earlier this week.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I told this story. I don't remember if I told it on air or if I told, like, our anniversary was last month and it was
Congratulations.
on Friday.
Happy anniversary.
And we decided that we were both just spent. And so after I got off work, Walmart of all places, I go to, let's see what they've got at Walmart. That's some nice looking ribeyes. $17 a pound.
Boom.
For $17. They used to be $7.99.
I bought 3 ribeyes at Walmart for $54 mother effing dollars.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the lowest. That was not the highest either. I'm like,
baby, I brought you some nice steaks. Go ahead and take them clothes off now.
It doesn't matter. I went to Walmart and got us our anniversary dinner.
These were expensive, but like
nothing says love more than going to Walmart.
Boom. But that goes back to like what we were saying, and Dan, on a previous show, there's digging into this port thing and all this, we figured out that really some of those costs rising in the food sector in certain sectors are because there's not a lot of competition. There's like 5 people that control the entire meat market in America. Did you know that?
Yes.
What's the produce like? Is there like 5 companies?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, you're in the produce. How many people control the produce market? In your opinion?
There's definitely your big players. I would say there's, probably the majority, like maybe 75%. It's probably controlled by like, maybe 5 to 8 big players in the produce market.
Yeah,
and that's probably the stuff you see at the grocery store.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of different wholesalers and restaurant distributors and, other ones that maybe have more of a, impact as well, instead of going straight to the grocery stores. But of what you're seeing at the grocery store, there's probably really like 5 big players.
Yeah. That's the big fish swallowing up the little fish in the pond, right? Mm-hmm. Not ice fishing, by the way, Dan. I know that's what you're talking about.
Swallow up that pond.
I'm not interested.
So energy costs are up 24.8%. We've seen a little bit that the natural gas would equate into that, and electric's gone up and all that. So clothing, 3.4%. Vehicles, new and old, combined, 24.4%. Transportation services, 4.4%. It equates to an overall increase of 7, if you divide them in an equal amount, 17% increase to the consumers, with also an inflation increase of 5.48%. So that's, it
doesn't sound like much. It sounds like small numbers, but like you just stated, you bought some ribeyes for $55 for 3 steaks
At Walmart.
At Walmart. Yeah.
They were
low prices, they say.
They were really good, yeah.
They better be for $55.
I cooked them. Hell yeah, they were good.
Season them with the best pepper and salt in my cabinet.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
So, Dan, you got any comments about any of those costs or anything about the inflation?
Do you know do you see that?
Definitely. And I think that's where you're seeing it in the pricing as well, right? So if we look at like just diesel prices alone, up to, we're at, I think diesel is $3.70, on average, and it's like up over almost $1.50 year over year.
Wow.
It's a huge portion when you're talking about filling up these trucks for,
what miles do you get? How many miles do you get to the gallon? Just curious, on your reefer, what do you get miles to the gallon?
On the truck, I usually say about, depending how lead-footed that driver is.
Yeah, I get that.
You usually say about 6.
Wow.
You get 6. Do you have skirts on that?
Yes, on the trailer. Yep.
You do.
Do they help?
Yep.
Are you wearing one right now?
I don't.
Do they help?
I don't know. People say they do.
They do.
I guess. It's little dependent. If you got a tailwind, a headwind, things like that can change. If you're running around the lakes, the lakes that come, the wind that comes off of Lake Michigan and Erie and stuff like that, people don't even think about it, but man, it has an effect.
Yeah.
So it does, hills, the mountains, cutting through Tennessee, Kentucky, you get those hills that people don't think about, and that affects your mileage too.
Yeah.
Let alone think about the Rockies when you're out west.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot that goes into play with fuel. And, if you want to run, smart idle and stuff like that, then some of that will help. Definitely try to cut down on your idle times and efficiencies the best you can, but it's definitely a factor. And you're seeing it in pricing. That's why you're seeing things. I just did an RFP for a big ice cream distributor.
RFP, by the way, is request for pricing, just so everyone knows.
So I did one of those, and it's one I've done in the past. And this
is
year,
it Dipping Dots? Curious.
No,
they're based out of Kentucky. They're pretty local. That's why I'm asking.
No, it wasn't. It's one of the big ones you see at the stores.
Kroger brand. Nice.
It was, I mean, putting in the numbers, I couldn't even believe it. I'm entering them myself, and I couldn't believe how the same prices that I was putting in a year ago, it's almost doubled. But that's what it's going to take on some of these, because you're running a reefer on ice cream at minus 20. So your reefer burn rate on that unit, it's more than just your normal typical,
What does that reefer run off of? Is it running off of the diesel fuel? Is that how that's cooled, or is it electric?
It has its separate diesel tank.
Yeah. It has its own tank.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to keep it filled.
Yep.
So you're filling up that diesel tank along with the tractor.
Yeah, and they'll last, Dan. If I'm not mistaken, I mean they'll last. We used to utilize them when I was a terminal manager for a company, and we'd have to keep an eye on them because we'd run them overnight, and they'll last 10, 12 hours, right?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, if you're in Arizona and it's 100 degrees outside, you're going to be burning reefer fuel a lot more.
Oh yeah, right.
If you're up in Minnesota in January, that reefer's not going to be running too bad. I mean, if it's 30 degrees outside, it'll be a pretty constant burn on reefer fuel. That's not going to be. But if it's hot outside and you're pumping through, I mean, you have to keep that diesel going, or else you're going to have
it's a new trucking term I've learned, reefer burn rate.
So hold on. I still want to get back to this running tomatoes out of Laredo that you mentioned. Why the heck are you reefering tomatoes? Tomatoes like the heat. Am I right?
Probably.
Am I wrong?
They get hot in the trailer, man.
Yeah, they want to be hot. What's tomatoes?
Usually a lot of your, temperatures vary on some of your different produce. So tomatoes really run at like 50 degrees.
Really?
Yeah. So, which is a fairly ambient temp. Because a lot of times if you're dependent on what stage it got picked, sometimes you're taking them to a place they might ripen a little bit.
Because they're green mostly, right? Aren't they green mostly when you would get them?
It depends.
Okay.
It really depends on whoever, what you're picking up. Some are packaged ready for store, and you're taking them to whatever DC, and then they're pretty much just going on and off to the store so you can buy them right away. Some are going to a warehouse they're going to hold for a little while and just ship it out. Some are going right to restaurants. It kind of depends on one. So you got to really kind of, work with your shipper to make sure you're at the right temp on what you're going to be. Same with I usually would try to stick to some safer produce just because, I was cautious, I guess.
Yeah.
Some onions are very temp sensitive, potatoes, things like that. Those are pretty stable. You see them at the grocery store. They're just out in the middle. They're not in one of the produce cases. They're just sitting out right, ambient temperature. But yeah, you don't want things getting too hot. You don't want things getting too cold.
That's good to know. That's good. So let's get back on topic. We kind of got off topic a little bit. Going back to
that's what we do. It's the Ship's Gonna Happen show.
Yes, I know. That's
going to happen.
So anyway, so we've been talking about. Remember that container I told you guys I had coming out of Germany, and
yeah.
Just to give an update.
Right.
It left Germany on the 23rd. It hit port this morning in New York, and it'll be unloaded over the weekend, and we'll have the product Tuesday or Wednesday.
23rd of October, right?
Nice. When did you order it?
The 23rd of October.
Yeah.
That's when it left.
Right. Wow.
It hit
So
port
2 weeks.
today.
Nice.
So
that's good.
And it'll be to the customer sometime next week. So
what port was it going into, did you say?
New York.
Yeah, that's probably why you're getting it quicker.
Yeah.
Did it come with a mask on it?
I don't.
The ship's got a mask on it.
There is a side story to this where the purchaser of it, we're kind of importing it for somebody else, and they got scammed. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So now we don't know what we're doing with.
You're kidding me.
No.
What do you mean they got scammed?
They got scammed.
Get up in there.
It happens all the time to us.
What do you mean? What do you mean though? Somebody uses your name to order something?
Yeah. So the original customer. Now this. Man, I just hope nobody from work's listening. But
then we won't talk about it.
No. I want to talk about it. I'm getting pissed. I'm frustrated. So
it's Saturday morning on November 6th. It's brisk. Yeah, we're going to talk about what we want to talk about.
The National Wildlife Federation are the people that are original purchasers. Now, the two of you, all three of you, should know. Shouldn't that raise a red flag? The National Wildlife. Why would they be with a truckload of oil?
They aren't ordering that.
Yeah,
they're going to dump it.
Yeah,
and claim that something went wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we need more government money to fix it.
some stupid. So yesterday, the purchaser called and said, "Hey, just to let you know, we got scammed on this, and we're not sure what to do with it." I'm like, "Well, all I'm doing is moving it. So you just got to tell me where to send it to." And now they're trying to figure out. I just got a text that it might end up in Chicago. But anyway, I mean, just stupid shit like that. So the purpose of the conversation was to show kind of how quick it came from Germany and it was birthing yesterday, and it'll get into the port today and then get offloaded.
Nice. Well, I'm happy you're getting it.
So, somebody is.
Somebody
we got it all right. Yeah. Not in the right way, but we got it all right. So,
yeah.
But anyway, so that's just going back to the conversations about the ports. So
yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's changed a lot. And like Jared had said, it seems to be an ongoing thing for a while. And in our peak shipping season right now, it's probably not going to help it. So, probably need to do your Christmas shopping as soon as you can.
Dan, do you want to pick up some oil from New York port by chance?
There you go.
So
I don't know what the burn rate is on your reefer.
Burn rate,
That oil needs to stay at a comfortable 82 degrees.
Yeah. Jared gave us a shout out on one of his like mass email things that he put out. So
did he?
That was nice. Uh-huh.
I didn't see it.
It was in the title. It was like, it was.
He probably just said, "Ship's gonna happen."
Yeah. Right. That's all he needs to say.
All right.
So.
Dan, real quick, back to you real quick on the First Call Logistics. Shout out to you for joining us. We appreciate you there, Stanky. And just want to know, do you foresee yourself in this industry 10 years from now?
Yes, I do. I think
Tony was nervous about that question himself, it sounds like.
Get it together, producer Tony.
You do see yourself? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
I do. I enjoy it. I think, similar to what you guys kind of, we piece together here or we try to solve problems, right? And I think if you have some of that problem-solving mentality, you kind of get addicted to it. And you get some enjoyment out of it. So I do have those times where, I'm pulling out my hair like, oh, what's going on? So it seems like there's a million things that can go wrong any sort of shipment. And it's all about rolling with it, solving the problems.
I'm glad you still have hair. A lot of people in this industry don't.
So Dan, does alcohol maybe kind of quell things every now and again? Do you?
That's right. Yeah. You gotta,
have you been to the Great Divide, Dan? Let's just get on to that. Have you been to the Great Divide?
Definitely beer 30 at the Great Divide. That solves some problems there for sure.
There we go. All right. Welcome to the show, Dan. Welcome to the show from First Call Logistics. Shout out to them.
Hey, Dan, go ahead, Dan. David, go ahead. Dan, next we get into David's random thoughts. So here, stand by and join us for David's random
we got another one.
Thoughts.
Oh, nice. Good random thoughts. It's been a couple weeks since we've all been together, so I've got two this week. So Halloween was just this past week. And
no one in this room showed up to my daggone party. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I had to work all weekend.
We had fevers going around.
And anyway, so growing up, it made me think about kind of growing up and especially when Tony and I were growing up, we got homemade Halloween candy.
Oh,
trick or treating.
Oh man,
you got the salads and chili or what?
No, it was
popcorn balls,
Rice Krispie treats.
Yep,
homemade instead of the ones that are baked at the store, and you got to buy them and cut them up.
So Dan, we'll start with you. Your favorite Halloween candy growing up? Did you have anything? Do you remember? Dan and Tim are the same age about.
Okay.
So. That's what I'm guessing too. Yeah. We're a little younger than this, Dan. We probably just started. We probably just stopped trick or treating. Is my guess.
I would say
I thought I saw a large man trick or treating through my neighborhood.
Out of breath, overweight. Yeah, that's me.
I think some of the go-tos when I was a kid that I always wanted, to find in my pillowcase.
Pillowcase, yes.
You were a big time trick or treater.
Yeah, we didn't have buckets and
it's too small. You can't get enough candy in that crap.
Yeah, you took your pillow out and you took your pillowcase out.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you didn't come out or you didn't come back till that thing was way too heavy to carry.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, Milk Duds, Laffy Taffy.
Milk Duds.
Oh yeah,
Laffy
Taffy for sure. I'm in there.
Laffy Taffy.
Yeah. Milk Duds, not a Milk Duds.
Not a Timmy D.
Dan, what age did you think you stopped trick or treating?
So I remember I went through like a year where I was like, I think I'm too old to trick or treat. Maybe like 7th grade.
We all did.
But then, so it took like a year off.
It took a year off.
Then I think
right
8th grade, I jumped right back out there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
You like those
for
free
some reason,
handouts,
I
don't
think
you?
I thought I was. That's right. Jumped right back out there, and and that's when it was more fun too. Like you could actually trick or treat at night and everything like that. So we did. Like now here, took my 2.5-year-old son out, and it's daytime, and everyone's out trick or treating. So I guess that's a little thing that is just kind of different. It doesn't seem as much of Halloween when it's not at night, but
Right.
So did little Weston have a good time trick or treating?
he did pretty good. We made it. We made like a block and a half, and then he was kind of over it.
Do you dress up with him, or do you let him go solo dressed up?
No, we let him go solo. He was a shark.
Okay.
Yeah, baby shark.
Baby daddy, baby shark,
yeah,
daddy shark.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I did not dress up. I just walked along.
So Timmy, what about you? Do you have a favorite Halloween candy growing up?
No, I mean, so to your point, yes, pillowcases was the thing. I used to always just dress in just straight black, and I'd bring 2 masks. And if you had good candy, I'd run around to the bush and put a different mask on, come back and grab more candy. And I'm with you, like nighttime was it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so my mom always, growing up, was a big old bowl of chilies, what she'd make on Halloween.
Wow.
And of course, it was the Indiana chili, right, where you had the noodles and everything else in there, very soupy like, and I'm not a big fan of it nowadays, but and we'd go around with a pillowcase, and so Snickers is obviously my favorite. I love Snickers.
I love them too.
Right, no one wants to turn into a Karen, so you want to go ahead and bite into a Snickers, right? There we go. And
Not sponsored,
but I would. I remember. To your point, Dan, I remember going out, I think it was probably 8th grade. No, it was probably sophomore year of high school. I'm not making this up. So I was a mentor to some kids at an elementary school, or one kid in particular, but ended up being the whole class. And I'd go over there every other day and take him out and do his homework or help him do his homework and kind of just mentor him, right? And he come over to our house. He lived in a neighborhood across. I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh my gosh. And then my parents were like, how do you know this little boy? I'm like, well, like that's the guy, that's the kid I mentor, And it was 6 o'clock, sun was kind of going down. And then I would go out afterwards. I go out like 8 o'clock, and people thought I was rude knocking on the door at 8:30 at night. I'm a grown ass man at that
Late
point, right? Hell yeah. Because my philosophy was, they have all this candy left that the kids didn't get, or they were too shy to give too much at once.
Right. Need some leftover.
We're lucky we live in a neighborhood where you can leave a bowl out on the end of your driveway, and the kids just grab a little bit.
Right.
Where I was at, if you left the bowl out, that whole bowl was going in that pillowcase.
There we go.
And so I'd go about 8:30, and they still had their porch light on. I was knocking. Then I turn around and knock again with another mask and get more candy. But they were more likely to give me more candy. Shame on me, or shame on them, one of the two.
Yeah,
right.
And so Snickers has always been my go-to as far as the candy. I like Skittles as well. So go ahead, Tony B. What you got?
Mine is probably, I always like those
Candy corn.
those little Starburst. Remember they give the little 6-packs of Starburst?
Yeah. There was 4 in there.
Yeah, 4 of them. That's what it was. And I used to try to double up on them. And
They had
so those are
when
mine.
you were growing up?
Yeah, they started when I was young. They had or you get singles sometimes, and then they had the little 4-packs. I think they started with.
Yeah. What you got, David B?
Well, like I say often on this show, I didn't build this temple and be in particular. So there was, I still, and around Halloween, I kind of, like I mentioned earlier, you think about the homemade stuff, the popcorn balls, and for whatever reason, they don't do that stuff anymore.
They don't.
So they can't.
They used to do it in our neighborhood, and then in the city of Chicago had found razor blades in them.
Well, yeah, that's the
That
real
killed the whole candy apple thing.
And 2 kids.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever got hurt. I think it was just a made up. There's a razor blade in there.
There's a needle inside the Snickers bar.
I mentioned at the house the other day, I said, well, let's make something for the kids this year. And my wife and my daughter are both like, you can't do that. And I go, what do you mean I can't do that? Why can't can I do that?
Can't.
Nope. Can't.
You
do
bring
it at
anything
all.
into the kids' lunch nowadays, it's got to be packaged.
So
you can't bring it in.
So the second random thought I have is actually compliments of Dan. So Dan brought this up. Dan and I had a lunch about a month ago, and he had a really good one. And we'll let Dan go first on this one too. So Dan, give me a list of top 5 stadiums, professional or college or whatever, that you haven't visited that you would like to visit in your lifetime. Professional, not necessarily professional stadiums, but college stadium or professional sports stadium that you would like to visit. Give me 5.
I'd say I probably am a little football heavy, maybe, but some of these new ones that you see on TV, and man, they just look immaculate. So I have that new Vegas one, that Allegiant Stadium.
Okay.
That looks like a cool one. Obviously, it's new.
That's where the Raiders play.
Yeah, Vegas.
Raiders.
So cool destination too.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Unless you're going 156 mile an hour like the old boy did earlier this
Oh,
week.
it's
Yeah,
bad.
you know,
It's
it's
bad.
Yeah. Then I think that LA one,
Yeah.
SoFi Stadium, that one looks sweet. And they're going to have Olympics and stuff there too. I think that'll be a cool venue for a long time. The other one I did, Atlanta, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the roof kind of spirals.
Wow.
That looks kind of cool. I actually, kind of a plug too. I hauled paint into that stadium when they were building it years ago. So that was kind of cool to haul truckloads of paint when they were doing that stadium. Then the other one, probably a little bias here, is I'm a Minnesota Vikings guy from Minnesota. So I have not been to that US Bank Stadium yet. I want to try to get up there, see if I can catch a game sometime. Obviously, it's hard to be a Vikings fan, but at least the stadium looks kind of nice.
That's 4.
And then the last one, I would say the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
Oh, good. That's a good list. So your favorite all
The Rose Bowl was built at the time these boys were incepted, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Give me your favorite Viking of all time. Do you have a favorite Viking of all time?
I mean, it would probably be Randy Moss.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's been some good ones, right?
But
Chuck
Chris
Foreman.
Carter too. Chris Carter was definitely one as a kid. Watching him play was awesome. And
You don't like Mr. Moon?
Fran Tarkington.
Warren Moon was great. Fran Tarkington is probably my dad's guy.
Yeah.
John Randall. I mean, he was
Oh,
an
yeah,
awesome
John
one too.
Randall.
Where he did
Alan
the face
Page.
paint and all that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Purple people eater.
So Timmy D,
Yeah.
what about you? Do you got 5?
So I'm fortunate enough to have traveled and visited a lot of stadiums that I've always wanted to see. So that's tough. So my goal as a child was always to visit every baseball stadium. Now it's transitioned into football. That's why I travel heavily with the Colts. When I say that I go to a minimum of 1 road game a year for the Colts, typically ends up being about 3. I'm disappointed I did not get to see the old Niners stadium. That was a Thursday night.
Candlestick?
Yeah. That was a Thursday night game or something. I couldn't get anybody to go with me. Buddy that lived in Florida had season tickets. I could have got those, and that was the last year, and the Colts played there. So I'm disappointed I haven't gone there. I think it'd be cool to go to Arizona as far as a football stadium. They roll the field out, right? So that's kind of, they grow the grass on the parking lot and then roll it in. I think that'd be pretty cool to do that. I would not be happy if I didn't mention that I started doing stadium tours out in Kansas City, and I think that's a tradition that's going to stick. On Saturdays, we'll do a tour everywhere we go. I would tell you Fenway. Fenway's one. I was fortunate enough. I went to the old Yankee Stadium, so that's off the bucket list. But the Fenway was for one. The Bills Stadium, we're supposed to go this year. The Colts play there in a couple of weeks from now because they're getting ready to build a new stadium. So I'd like to visit. I should have went 2 years ago in the big snowfall, and I didn't go. So kind of.
It's only 8 hours down the road.
I know. But you have to. If you're out of town, you have to be vaccinated and show a negative test 3 days prior to, and it has to be local. You can't show a local test from Indianapolis. So that means we'd have to be up there early. And the person I always travel with, she's a teacher. She can't take off work. So I would tell you Fenway, Arizona. I agree with you on the Minnesota Stadium. I think you said US Bank. Does that sound right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see that. That's where they had the Super Bowl at. Believe it or not, Soldier Field. Soldier Field would be one that I have yet to visit. Man, that's about. I visited a lot of I visited 14 stadiums on the NFL side, and at least 8 on the MLB side. Basketball, right? You think Indiana, as far as basketball wise, I'm not a big desire to see anything. So yeah, I'm just gonna stop. I guess college stadiums I could bring in. Ohio State would be nice.
That'd be good.
I've been fortunate enough to. I've been to the Notre Dame. Obviously, I'm a big Notre Dame fan. Michigan, I went up there for that, but Ohio State would be one, and I would love to see an SEC game in person. I've heard that their tailgates and things are just ridiculous. Whether it's Auburn, Alabama, Georgia, any of those down in that area would not necessarily Vanderbilt, but yes, Tennessee maybe. But yeah, I tell you what, Vanderbilt has a weird setup on basketball. You guys ever seen it? So the team sits on the inlines.
Yeah.
Which is cool to me. It's different, right? I've always liked Minnesota's basketball stadium, how they sit below the floor. I love that, right? Hinkle has a little bit of that. So, yeah, I guess I don't have that many on my bucket list.
Oh, you got 5. That's good. Tony B, producer Tony, you got a list? Or?
Yeah, I got one. I've been, like Tim, I've been fortunate to go to a lot of sporting events throughout my life. I've lived in 5 states. So I've been in the West Coast, been to a lot of stadiums too. But yes, I do. Like Tim said, Arizona, I think that's really cool. LA, Vegas, like to see those. I'm not a big fan of Dallas, but I wouldn't mind going and seeing that stadium.
It's amazing.
And then would love to see Auburn, Alabama game at Alabama Stadium. Would like to see. The new ones don't really intrigue me that much. I'm kind of I like the old. I grew up in Chicago. I like the old Wrigleyville type thing and Northwestern. I mean, those are nostalgic type stadium. And speaking of being a Notre Dame fan, I'll tell you this. I didn't grow up in the state, right? 2 of the best experiences I ever had, sports-wise, was at Notre Dame because I love Notre Dame. Watching a game at Notre Dame in the winter with a little bit of snow coming down, man, that is like... I know you're probably getting chills right now, Dan, being from Minnesota, listening to that. But that is a good feeling, right? And then just the nostalgic of it, right? And then Bloomington, IU, watching a basketball game down there. I mean, I don't care where you're from or what new stadiums you've been into. I mean, that's a cool stadium, right?
It is.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Good list.
Well, you got West Virginia.
I'm going to start with Wembley.
Wembley Stadium.
Wow.
David went international.
I'm listening to all your lists. I'm listening to all 3 of your lists. I'm like, mother, I got this. I'm going to come right out of shoot and go with
international.
Wembley. So I'm going to go Wembley, Camp Randall, Boise State at 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 4. Boy, I only had long enough to think about this, so... I'm
going to fill you. One thing I failed to mention was I like to see a Texas high school football game.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? In mentioning that real quick, just give Dave time to think about it. I was going to say the field that Arch Manning plays on, the high school kid who's Peyton Manning's nephew. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You ought to YouTube it and look at the field they play on. It's pretty unique. I'm wondering where the fans are because it's surrounded by like kind of these new buildings. And then when they hit field goals, the field goal goes onto the rooftop. And then there's kids up there grabbing I'm like, man, that kind of looks like kind of cool place to go see a game.
Nice. So I'll go my number 4, Cameron Indoor. For
Cameron? Yeah.
Oh, Duke. I was going to say that too.
Yep. And then number 5, I'd like to... Boy.
Wouldn't you like to see Manchester, England play a soccer game?
That's a whole different drunk event there.
Yeah, that would be
100,000 people.
I think I'd go with that as my 5.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I mean, a good international like Wembley and Manchester, that'd be just so much fun. I mean, being from America, you'd probably get treated like gold over there. Just
Manchester United, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Manchester United.
Mm-hmm. They're paying soccer players $80 million a year. Have you seen this?
It's the biggest sport in the world.
It's crazy.
It is.
So there's my list. Everybody had a really good list. Thanks for everybody participating. in the random thoughts.
David B's random thoughts.
It's going to happen.
Ship's going to happen Saturday morning. Hey, Dan, you still there?
Dan
is gone.
We may have lost
First
Dan.
call logistics. Had to make a call.
He made to answer a call.
There you go.
Hey, Dan, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Can we have you back sometime, Dan?
For sure, definitely.
No, that sounds good. And we appreciate that. And thanks for your time this morning. And we wish you the best of success to your business. And we look forward to having you on the show again, Dan. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Shout out to First Call Logistics with Dan Stanke on the line.
You're listening to Ship's Gonna Happen podcast show Saturday morning. Hope everybody has a great weekend. All you drivers out there, be safe and come home safe.
Ship's Gonna Happen.